drifting in the void, the last remnants of humanity stared at the dying light of Sol. The once great beacon of life was now a dim ember, its death knell forcing the species that once thrived beneath it to flee. The exodus had begun centuries ago. Earth, ravaged by overconsumption, war, and a final catastrophe that sealed its fate, was no longer home. The final ships, each the size of floating cities, had launched in desperation. There had been no clear destination, only the void, stretching endlessly in all directions, offering nothing but the promise of uncertainty. The fleet of arks was vast. Thousands had once been launched, but time had been merciless. Without a planet to call their own, humanity had learned the true cruelty of space. It was a vast, unfeeling tomb, where the unprepared were devoured by radiation, mechanical failure, or simple entropy. Whole ships had gone dark, their populations perishing as supplies ran out. Others had simply vanished, lost to the abyss, never to be heard from again. But the survivors endured. On board the Horizon Spear, Admiral Darius Holt gazed out into the infinite dark. He was a man who had never touched the soil of Earth, born within the metal confines of the Arkansas. His ancestors had known blue skies, the feel of wind against their skin, but to him, these were myths, as distant as the stars they chased. "Still nothing?" he asked, his voice a low growl. "Nothing, sir," replied Lieutenant Aiko Mori, her fingers dancing over the glowing interface of the ship's scanners. "Same as yesterday. Same as last year." The Horizon Spear was one of the last remaining command ships, and the de facto capital of what remained of humanity. The fleet was down to only a few hundred vessels, out of the thousands that had begun the journey. They had encountered no habitable worlds. No safe harbor. No other intelligent life. Until now. "Sir." Aiko's voice spiked with alarm. "We're picking up an anomaly. Coordinates incoming." A map flickered to life before them, a sector of space previously scanned 100 times over, showing nothing but dead rock and radiation storms. But now, something was there. "That's impossible," Holt muttered. "It's a signal," Aiko confirmed, her voice tinged with both disbelief and excitement. "Not naturally occurring. Definitely artificial." Holt's mind raced. After centuries of silence, they had finally found something. But was it a beacon of hope or a warning? He turned to his bridge crew, his expression hardening. "Set course. We're going to find out." The fleet began its slow turn toward the anomaly, its fate hanging in the balance. Humanity had spent centuries wandering, lost in the void, but perhaps now, at long last, they had found their true purpose. The Horizon Spear and the remnants of the Exodus fleet cut through the void toward the unknown signal, their engines flaring against the endless dark. For centuries, humanity had been alone, adrift in a hostile, unfeeling universe. But now, for the first time, there was proof that they weren't the only ones out here. Admiral Holt stood at the bridge, staring at the anomaly's coordinates. Aiko Mori's scans showed something massive ahead, just beyond a swirling nebula of charged gases and dust. "Visuals coming through," Aiko reported. The view screen flickered, resolving into an image that sent a ripple of unease through the bridge crew. A structure. It hung in the void like a monolith of forgotten gods, an immense station of alien origin. Towering spires jutted from a central mass, and along its surface, faint lines of golden energy pulsed like veins through a living organism. The signal was coming from deep inside. Holt narrowed his eyes. "Any signs of life?" Aiko hesitated. "Nothing we can detect. The structure is ancient, but still operational. It's waiting for something." Before Holt could reply, the fleet's long-range scanners flared with warnings. "Multiple contacts," someone shouted. "Inbound, fast." The screen adjusted, and what Holt saw made his stomach tighten. Ships. Dozens of them. Angular, dark, moving with deadly precision. Their hulls bore no markings, but something about them radiated menace. And then, before anyone could react, they opened fire. The first salvo tore through the Aegis Dawn, a civilian transport at the fleet's edge. The ship split apart in an instant, its hull shredded by glowing lances of violet energy. Screams erupted across the fleet's comm channels. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Holt barked. The Exodus fleet scattered, their long, bulky forms twisting to avoid the onslaught. The Horizon spear banked hard, its shields flaring as it absorbed several impacts. Return fire. The fleet's weapons activated. Railguns and plasma batteries roared to life, sending volleys of slugs and charged energy toward the enemy. The alien ships were fast, too fast. They weaved through the counterfire with inhuman precision. They were waiting for us, Aiko whispered, her hands clenching the console. Holt gritted his teeth. He had no idea who these aliens were, but it was clear they saw humanity as nothing more than prey. Broadcast on all frequencies, he ordered. We need to make contact, find out what they want. Aiko sent out the transmission, but no response came. The only reply was more destruction. Another human ship, the Iron Resolve, was torn in half, its pieces scattering into the void. Holt's fingers dug into the railing. For centuries, humanity had fought against the void itself. Starvation. Isolation. Mechanical failures. But now, the fight had changed. The enemy was real. And war had begun. Prepare the fleet for counteroffensive maneuvers, he said coldly. If they want a war, we'll give them one. The void burned. What had begun as an ambush had turned into a full-scale battle. Humanity's fleet, once composed of slow, lumbering arcs meant for survival, not combat, was now forced into a brutal, chaotic engagement against an enemy that fought with terrifying efficiency. The alien ships were faster, more advanced. Their sleek, black hulls twisted through space with unnatural precision, their violet energy lances carving through human vessels as though they were made of paper. In the first 5 minutes, 20 human ships had already been reduced to glowing debris. But humanity had never survived by rolling over. Target their formations. Don't chase, make them come to us. Admiral Holt bellowed, gripping the railing as the Horizon spear weaved through a storm of enemy fire. On the tactical display, his fleet moved like a collapsing web, tightening their defensive lines. They couldn't outmaneuver the enemy, but they could make them bleed for every kill. The Horizon Spear's railguns thundered, sending a volley of hypervelocity rounds into the heart of the enemy formation. One of the alien ships buckled under the impact, its sleek form crumpling before exploding into a miniature supernova. A small victory, but they needed more. Admiral. New readings. Our weapons aren't penetrating their shields unless we hit them dead-on at high velocity, Aiko Mori reported, her voice tight with urgency. Their hulls are absorbing our plasma rounds. Holt's mind raced. Humanity's arsenal was outdated, designed for planetary defense and asteroid mining, not deep space warfare against an enemy like this. They had to adapt, and fast. Divert power to kinetic weaponry. Plasma's useless. We go old school, he ordered. The next wave of attacks saw human ships relying on mass-driven weapons, railguns, coil cannons, anything that could punch through raw material with brute force. One alien ship took a direct hit from a tungsten slug moving at near-light speed. It didn't just break apart, it vaporized. A crack in the enemy's armor. Now we're talking, Holt muttered. Redirect all ships to focus fire on single targets. Overwhelm them. Across the battlefield, human ships adjusted their tactics. Instead of fighting a battle of agility, they turned space into a death trap, luring the aliens into kill zones where overlapping fields of fire shredded them apart. For the first time, the enemy faltered. And that was when Holt saw the real opportunity. The station, he said suddenly. Aiko blinked. Sir? The structure that sent the signal. The aliens didn't build it, they were guarding it. Holt's eyes narrowed. There's something there. Something they don't want us to reach. A realization settled over the bridge. The aliens hadn't attacked out of simple hostility. they were trying to keep humanity away from something. Something important. Holt turned to his comms officer. "Patch me through to the fleet." A moment later, his voice boomed across every surviving human vessel. "This is Admiral Holt. We have a foothold. Now we take the prize. All ships, cover our advance. Our mission isn't just survival anymore. It's conquest." The Exodus fleet surged forward, cutting through the last enemy resistance. And as the first human ships neared the station, the ancient structure reacted. A deep, resonating pulse echoed through space, like the heartbeat of a sleeping god awakening for the first time in millennia. The pulse from the station sent a shockwave through space, a deep, resonating tremor that rattled the ships of the Exodus fleet. Systems flickered, displays momentarily scrambled, and for a fraction of a second, even the void itself seemed to ripple. Then, silence. Admiral Holt gritted his teeth. "Report." "Minor power fluctuations across the fleet," Aiko Mori called out. "No damage, but, the station, it's coming online." On the view screen, the once dormant alien monolith roared to life. The golden veins running along its surface brightened, forming intricate patterns. Massive panels shifted and realigned, and what had once seemed like a lifeless ruin now radiated energy. The enemy ships hesitated, breaking off their assault. "They're falling back," one of Holt's officers murmured. The aliens weren't retreating because they were losing. They were retreating because something more dangerous had just awakened. Holt saw his chance. "Move in. Get me a boarding team, now." Moments later, the Horizon Spear led the charge toward the station, flanked by a handful of surviving combat ships. Docking clamps extended, locking onto the massive structure. A breaching team assembled, armored figures clad in advanced exo-rigs, weapons primed. Commander Elias Voss, a grizzled veteran of Void operations, led the boarding party. As the hatch hissed open, he stepped into the unknown. Inside, the station was vast. The walls pulsed faintly with golden energy, and the air, if it could even be called that, felt charged, thick with an almost electric presence. Strange symbols adorned the corridors, shifting as if alive, defying human logic. "This place isn't abandoned," one of his soldiers muttered. "It's waiting for something." Voss pressed forward, his boots echoing through the eerie silence. At the center of the station, they found it, a massive chamber, lined with towering obelisks of shifting light. And in the center, a throne. Or something like it. A colossal construct, seated upon a raised dais, surrounded by swirling strands of data and holographic projections. It was humanoid, but not human. A being of metal and unknown material, seated in silent dormancy. Then, its eyes opened. The construct's gaze locked onto Voss. In an instant, knowledge surged into his mind, fragments of history, images of war, civilizations rising and falling, entire empires burned away by the march of time. And a message, clear and undeniable. "You are not the first. But you may be the last, ****. Voss staggered, gripping his helmet. "Holt, you need to see this." Back on the Horizon Spear, data flooded the ship's systems. Schematics, blueprints, technologies beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. Ships. Weapons. Power. A fleet waiting to be reborn. Holt's breath caught as the realization dawned. "This isn't just a station," he whispered. "It's a war forge. And humanity had just claimed it." Across the battlefield, the remaining alien ships hesitated, as if sensing the shift in power. The Exodus fleet, battered but unbroken, now had something they had never possessed before. Not just survival. Not just hope. A force of their own. The Phoenix fleet was about to rise. The ancient war forge rumbled to life, its dormant systems awakening under human command. What had once been an empty relic of a forgotten war was now a living, breathing machine of conquest. Inside its vast corridors, engineers and AI technicians worked frantically, deciphering the alien schematics. The station contained blueprints for warships far beyond human capability, sleek, terrifying machines of destruction, powered by forces Holt's scientists barely understood. Admiral Holt stood at the heart of the command center, staring at the holographic projections flickering before him. This technology, Aiko Mori murmured, it's centuries, maybe millennia, beyond us. If we can harness it. We will harness it, Holt said, his voice firm. The enemy wanted to keep this from us. That alone tells me it's the key to their downfall. The Exodus fleet had always been on the defensive, struggling to survive. But now? Now they had the means to strike back. The first trial of fire. It took less than a week for the first ship to be born. Using the station's automated foundries and replicators, humanity's first true warship, the Revenant *, was constructed in record time. It was unlike anything in the fleet, angular, plated with self-repairing alloys, its engines burning with a gravity-defying energy source. And it wasn't alone. Within days, a dozen more ships emerged, each one a fusion of human ingenuity in ancient alien warfare. Weapons once considered theoretical were now reality, void lances that could tear through shields, hyperkinetic artillery that could shatter a ship in a single shot. Holt knew they couldn't waste time. The aliens wouldn't sit idle. They'll return, Voss said, watching the fleet's mobilization from the station's observation deck. They're regrouping. We took their prize. And now we take everything else, Holt replied. Humanity had spent too long running. That ended today. The war begins. The enemy returned in force. Hundreds of ships, an entire armada, converged on the station, their formation stretching across the void like a swarm of black locusts. This time, they weren't here to intimidate or contain. They were here to annihilate. The battle erupted in an instant. The alien fleet fired first, their violet energy lances searing across space. But where humanity had once been forced to endure, now they retaliated with newfound fury. The Horizon Spear led the charge, flanked by the Revenant and its newly forged sister ships. They cut through the enemy ranks, their weapons tearing into ships that had once seemed invincible. Humanity had learned. They didn't fight with honor. They fought with desperation, with strategy born from centuries of survival. They used their newfound technology with ruthless efficiency, overwhelming the enemy in brutal, coordinated strikes. The Warforge itself became a weapon, its automated defenses activating, unleashing beams of energy that sliced through entire formations. For the first time in history, the invincible enemy faltered. Then, they broke. The fall of the tyrants. The enemy fleet crumbled, their warships either retreating or reduced to glowing debris. The battle was no longer a struggle for survival, it was a slaughter. And humanity didn't stop. Under Holt's command, the Phoenix fleet pushed forward, hunting down the remnants of the alien empire. World after world, station after station, they fell like dominoes. The species that had once sought to exterminate humanity now found themselves on the defensive, their once mighty dominion crumbling before an enemy they had underestimated. Humanity had been lost in the void for centuries. Now, they had found their purpose. And the stars belonged to them. The alien empire was crumbling. The invincible oppressors, who had ruled the void with an iron grip, were now on the run. Their fleets, once a symbol of absolute power, had been shattered by a species they had once dismissed as insignificant. But humanity did not stop. Admiral Holt watched from the bridge of the Horizon Spear as his armada surged forward, pushing deeper into enemy space. Every battle brought new victories. Every world they conquered became a stepping stone toward ultimate dominance. We have their primary hyperspace routes mapped, Aiko Mori reported, her fingers gliding across the tactical display. They're pulling back toward their home systems, trying to consolidate their forces. Holt studied the map. The enemy's retreat was methodical, controlled. They weren't just fleeing, they were preparing for something. They're cornered, Commander Voss said, arms crossed. And a cornered animal is the most dangerous kind. Holt nodded. That's why we press harder. The war machine unleashed. The Warforge, fully operational, was now producing ships at an astonishing rate. Every captured enemy world provided more resources, fueling the unstoppable expansion of the Phoenix fleet. Humanity had adapted to war like it was their birthright. Their ships, once clunky relics of an exodus long past, were now sleek engines of destruction, each one a hybrid of alien technology and human ingenuity. AI-driven targeting systems, energy-dense armor, and weapons capable of rewriting the laws of space combat. The aliens had expected humanity to die in the void. Instead, they had become its masters. The fleet launched coordinated strikes across multiple star systems. A deep space shipyard, obliterated. A fortress world, its defenses bypassed and its rulers executed. A dreadnought fleet, ambushed and annihilated in minutes. Every battle was a brutal lesson in human perseverance. They didn't just want to win. They wanted to erase any possibility of future threats. Holt's orders were clear: no mercy. No second chances. The last stand. At the heart of enemy space lay a world unlike any other. Iko pointed to the holographic display. This is their homeworld, Velthan. If we take it, the war is over. Voss exhaled sharply. How well defended is it? Beyond anything we've faced, she admitted. Their remaining fleet, planetary shields, orbital defense arrays. If we hit them, it won't be a battle. It'll be a cataclysm. Holt's eyes gleamed. Then we bring the storm. The full force of the Phoenix fleet gathered for one final assault. This wasn't just about winning the war. It was about ending it. Forever. The final assault on Velthan began with a cataclysmic flare of light as the Phoenix fleet exited hyperspace, emerging over the once proud capital world of the alien empire. The planet, a jewel in its system, gleamed against the black void, but now, it would become the stage for humanity's ascension. Admiral Holt stood at the heart of the command deck of the Horizon Spear, watching the fleet converge on the planet. His face was grim, yet there was a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. The last battle was upon them. This is it, Iko Mori said softly. All we've fought for, everything we've sacrificed. Today, we finish what we started, Holt replied, voice steady. We bring an end to this empire, and we make sure nothing like it ever rises again. The battle began. The Velthan defenses, once thought impregnable, trembled before the might of humanity's new war machines. The planetary shields, which had withstood the fire of entire fleets, buckled under sustained fire from the Phoenix fleet. With every volley, the tide of the war turned irrevocably in humanity's favor. Hundreds of alien ships, desperate to protect their last bastion, surged toward the attackers. But humanity was prepared. The Revenant led the charge, its advanced weapons cutting through the alien armada like a scythe through wheat. Railgun slugs the size of skyscrapers tore through enemy ships, while devastating energy lances reduced their hulls to plasma in the blink of an eye. Humanity didn't fight for honor. They fought for dominance. On the surface of Velthan, the last remnants of the alien empire made their final stand. Massive citadels, once symbols of power, now lay in ruins, their defenders cowering as humanity's forces descended. The ground shook as drop ships landed, disgorging troops equipped with alien technology that allowed them to move faster, strike harder, and endure longer than any force the galaxy had ever seen. The city center, once a place of magnificent architecture and monumental pride, was now a battlefield. Human soldiers stormed through the streets, their presence as inevitable as the rise of a new empire. The aliens fought valiantly, but it was clear that their will was breaking. They had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that knew no fear, no weakness, no retreat. The final push came when the leadership of the alien empire was located in their underground citadel, a vast labyrinth of metal and stone, designed to be impervious to attack. But nothing was impenetrable for humanity. The last of their leadership, once the gods of the stars, were brought to the surface in chains, their arrogance stripped away. The aliens had been cruel conquerors, ruling with terror across the galaxy. They had believed their empire would endure forever. They were wrong. And humanity's arrival would be their undoing. Admiral Holt stood at the heart of Velthan's shattered capital, overlooking the ruins of an empire. The leader of the alien species, broken and defeated, was dragged before him. Holt could see the fear in the aliens' eyes, an emotion the invaders had once believed they had eradicated from their own kind. "Mercy," the alien whispered, trembling. "Please, show mercy." Holt stared down at the fallen ruler, his face hard as stone. "Mercy? You asked for mercy when you hunted my people through the stars? You hunted us like animals, exterminated those who resisted." He looked away, his gaze sweeping over the ruin of the once great city, the ashes of an empire. "We don't give mercy. We take what we want." With a single command, the leader of the alien empire was executed, the final symbol of their reign extinguished. Humanity had won, but it was more than just victory. It was retribution. It was the culmination of centuries of suffering, of sacrifice, of struggle. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the hunters. The Phoenix fleet gathered, ready for the next stage of their journey. This victory had been but the beginning. Humanity had conquered the stars, shattered the forces that had threatened them, and now, they would rule. The galaxy was vast, but humanity was infinite. They had found their true purpose, not just to survive, but to conquer, to dominate, and to shape the galaxy in their own image. As the last of the alien worlds fell, a new era dawned. One that belonged to humanity alone. The stars were no longer a void to fear. They were a canvas upon which humanity would paint their legacy. And the galaxy would remember the day when humanity rose, when they were no longer lost in the void, but the masters of it. Eternal conquerors, forged in the crucible of space.